Ladies and gentlemen, it's amazing. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, everybody. We're learning Chassidus today. Chassidus of the Friedrich Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, about our purpose in life. The core of our discourse is how everywhere we are, we're never displaced. We're always dispatched. We're always on a mission. Have you ever thought or sighed, if only? If only I would have married somebody else. If only I would have had another job or tax bracket.
Careful, we're on video.
Everything you say can and will be used against you, right?
Yeah, I heard that from my
You think your wife says that quite often? Okay. So I want you to know that Chassidus gives us the most beautiful spiritual realignment, chiropractic readjustment to our souls, as it encourages us forward. 373 in the book, as it encourages us forward to embrace our identity, to embrace our challenges, and to realize that our obstacles are not our problems. Our obstacles are our assignment. Where did I see this last night? I saw something last night where I saw somebody do this. My kid showed me a video of a beach cleanup. A fellow does beach cleanup. Goes to the beach and he has a special rake or shovel that he took a video and he collects all the schmutz off the beach. Then he melts it down and
that was interesting. And they created something.
And he puts it in, he makes it into like a liquid metal and he puts it into a mold and he creates garbage bins, beautiful like designer garbage bins that he sets up around or on the beaches made out of garbage. And I'm thinking, wow, this is nice. This is a guy who's taking the problem and turning it into the solution. Wow. Can you imagine if you did that in our lives? Imagine you thought it right now about your biggest problem. Think about that. A family member, financial issue, a medical, whatever. You think about you identify your biggest problem. Can you do to that problem what he did with his garbage? Can you use your tormentor to become your mentor? There's a lot to work on in this particular direction. That's why we need a mimer. That's why this is not a one-liner and one and done. This is a process. It's a didactic, to quote my misunderstanding of a word a few years ago. A didactic I thought is a noun, when really it's an adjective. No, so I thought it's an adjective. Really, it's an adjective. I thought it's a noun. In other words, I thought it's a journey. It's a process. And I think I want to make it into a journey. I would like to propose that didactic becomes a noun. In fact, in my book, when I published it, I had a couple editors that were telling me, Rabbi, that's not a noun.
Rabbi Google says it's adjective.
It's an adjective, right? So I said, I was arguing. I said, didactic should be a noun. It's like an odyssey. A didactic means like, and Harvey taught me this word, it's like, it's up and down, it's in and out, it's the journey, the travel. It's the journey, the travel to be able to readjust your perception, right? So it's not just an adjective, because I found that this word didactic doesn't have a noun that is as strong as the adjective. So I said, didactism. Okay, fine. So I'm getting closer. Whatever. All right, fine. Very good. Let's go back to Chassidus over here. So that's what we're doing. We're doing a didactic journey here, didacticism, according to Google. Thank you very much. Let's try to understand our purpose and our mission in this world and how we can disarm our problems, neutralize them, and transform them into our friends, tormentors into mentors. By the way, Daniel, if you don't get my email, you should subscribe to jewishgardens.com/subscribe. That's jewishgardens.com/subscribe. I just wrote about that issue a few weeks ago. Okay. So, sorry, it's not 373. I'm on the wrong page. Here, page 367. I apologize. Okay. Page 367. Okay. So I'd like to start off with cutting straight to the chase. with a question that has been bothering Chuck for a little while. Chuck, he's not here right now, but he's online, or now or later. And Chuck tells me that he's very intrigued by this concept that we're on a mission. But Chuck, like a good businessman that he is, wants to know, okay, so what's that mission? Like, how am I supposed to be on a mission if I didn't get the memo of what the mission is? Right? Like, what kind of mission is that? You know? So he's got a good question, of course, right? So I told Chuck it's going to take some time to get to the answers. This is part of the journey. By divine providence, I came across this letter that the Rebbe wrote on the 19th of Kislev in 1983. Actually, it was 1984. The Rebbe wrote this letter to a person in Israel by the name of Rabbi Alter B'Tzalel Kupchik. Here's what the Rebbe said. I'm going to translate this letter verbatim as best as I can. So this guy writes to the Rebbe a question like this. I am asking a blessing from the Rebbe that I should be able to fulfill the will of the Rebbe and the Rebbe's directives. He's like, look, the Rebbe is my Moses, right? I don't want to be like the Jews of the Torah in the desert, they were rebelling against Moses. I recognize that Moses is the man of God, right? I recognize that the Rebbe is the Moses of our generation. I want to bless him to be able to have the strength to be able to follow in the Rebbe's directives and to fulfill them, and to do so with joy, with constant joy. And my question is, what is my specific mission in this world? That was his question. This letter, it's actually published in the Likutei Sichos, volume 39, page 325. Okay, so here's what he answers. The Rebbe answers him like this. You will fulfill. The Rebbe wrote in brief, but I'm going to sort of expand the words to explain what the Rebbe was saying. You will fulfill the Rebbe's will. Now, the Rebbe was very humble. The Rebbe didn't speak about himself as the Rebbe. The Rebbe spoke about his father-in-law, the author of this Maimer, as the Rebbe, right? So he said, you will fulfill the Rebbe's will through being constantly in a state of joy. So the Rebbe connected the 2 points that he said. He said, I want to fulfill the Rebbe's will in a way of joy, constantly. And what is my mission in life? So here's how the Rebbe answers him. You will fulfill the Rebbe's will by being constantly in a state of joy. And when your evil inclination will try to seduce you away by asking you to think about your state of mind, and specifically, your evil inclination will accuse you of being too naive and not sophisticated enough. You should know that you don't have any time for this. You should know that this is a powerful temptation, seduction. It's a very dangerous seduction of your evil inclination that he's going to try to attempt to make you do this, because your mission in life is to fulfill the will of your Maker through the action of studying Torah and doing mitzvahs, and not through sophisticated analyses and investigations. In other words, and what the Rebbe was saying to him is that your mission in life is to be humble before God. Let me just finish it for a second. I'm trying to explain what he said. So I just want to wrap it up in my own words, right? What the Rebbe was saying is that you need to walk away from sophistication and humbly and innocently accept the word of Hashem. Right? Now, we see this at play in the very first encounter with the evil inclination in the Garden of Eden. What does God tell Adam? He tells Adam, don't eat from the tree. Right? So Adam tells Eve, don't eat from the tree. Shows up the snake, which is the embodiment of the evil inclination. And he says, did God tell you not to eat from the tree? He's opening the door, all right? So Eve says, yeah, we shouldn't eat from it. We shouldn't even touch it. So he says to her, you think you're going to die if you touch a tree? It's not true. You can touch it. He pushed her against the tree and she didn't die. She didn't die. Then he says to her, besides, you know why? Let's get sophisticated. You know why he doesn't want you to eat from the tree? Because he doesn't want you to be smart like him. He doesn't want you to have das. He doesn't want you to have knowledge. intimate knowledge, perception, personalized, subjective empathy, emotion, perception, what I call realization, making it real, right? He doesn't want you to have that. And that's what led, was this sophistication that played with her mind so much that she succumbed. So you see right there that it was the sophistication of the snake that manipulated the innocence of Adam and Eve to be able to lead them to their sin, which was part of the process. It was their frame to do that, right? It's just beautiful to see that the Rebbe answers this person direct, straight up, unequivocal, and explicit. The Rebbe says, your mission in life is to fulfill the word of Hashem and Torah and mitzvahs, and to do so with wholeheartedness and sincerity, without sophistication. So instead of coming and saying, well, I'll only do this when I understand why there was a Holocaust, right? I'll only lay tefillin when I understand every single nuance of the process. No, just do when you lay tefillin. That's your mission in life, right? And it's interesting, elsewhere the Rebbe said that the collective of the Jewish people is one organism. It's like one human body. And you have different souls. We learned this in Tanya chapter 2, that there's different souls that originate in different parts of the corpus of the Jewish people. You have some people that come from, the brain. They are the brains of the generation, the leaders, the Rebbes of the generation. You have other people, Nebuch, they're the tuchas of the generation. You have some people like this. You meet them once in a while. You have some people that are the eyes, the hearts, the feelers, the thinkers, the talkers. Some people that can't stop talking. In general, our generation is known as Dara the Ikvisa de Mashiach, to quote the Cabalists, the generation of the heel, H-E-E-L, the heel of redemption. Because when it comes to the corpus of the Jewish people, the souls that came before us, they were the great leaders of Jewish history. They were the thinkers and the feelers and the doers and the movers and shakers. We were the heel. The heel is the least sensitive part of the human body. The heel is the trampled upon part of the human body. But then again, without the heel, you don't get into the door, right? You can have all the loftiest of intentions and most empathetic of emotions, but you're never going to get the deed done without the heel. So the heel is the one that does the final deed, right? And that's our generation. It's been spoken about in other places in Chassidus, that our role is to do the deed. So we're hardly as smart as the generations that came prior to us. They were far more educated, illuminated. They were closer to Moses, right? But ours is, we're further from Moses, and we have to accept the fact that our mission in general is to have that sincerity and simplicity, not a negative simplicity as in naivete, but a positive simplicity, a wholeheartedness. I'm going to call it an unconditional commitment, like you have to your spouse. To have that to your God, that is the mission of our generation in general. Velvelaser.
Two things you mentioned with constant state of joy. I don't know exactly what that means. I know what it says. We were talking about putting on tefillin, not knowing everything. We're not the generation of, so to speak, keep it simple, stupid. You can still be sincere what you do, even though you may not know all things that maybe you should know, but you do go through the action and you're sincere in your heart. Your limitations are much more than you realize.
Are you agreeing with me or disagreeing with me? I'm not sure. Are you agreeing or challenging?
I'm just asking.
So what's the question?
The question is, are we in that keep it simple state of generation of keep it simple?
Yeah, I think so. So you asked two questions. First question you ask is, how do you stay in a state of perpetual joy? What does that mean? And second of all, are we the generation of KISS, keep it simple, stupid, right? Which is just do the deed, right? So
Nike.
What?
It's the Nike philosophy.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Right. So I just want to answer, when it comes to a state of joy, it's very important to understand a state of joy. Joy is not a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah to be joyous, but it's going to bring you to do all the mitzvahs. Depression is not a sin, but it will cause you to do all the sins. Joy will lift you to do all the mitzvahs. Sadness and depression will schlep you down to do all the sins, right? It's very important to understand that joy is not the result of your circumstances. Joy is the cause of your circumstances. It's very, very important to understand that joy is not a reaction to your reality. Joy is a choice. I asked somebody this Shabbos, I said to him, "Good Shabbos, how are you? Are you happy?" I said to him, "Are you happy?" So he says to me, "How can I be happy with what's going on?" I said, "Because joy is a choice. That's why. Because joy is a choice. You have to choose. You have to decide to be happy. You don't wake up in the morning, check your email, figure out what's going on in Gaza and in the northern border of Israel. After that, you check what's going on in the U.S. Supreme Court and in Colorado, which other state has canceled out Trump. And then you have to decide if you're in a state of joy. No. You wake up in the morning, before you check your email, before you read the news, you go like this, you say, Modeh ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shechazarta b'nishmati b'chemla, Rabbi monetecha, right? You say the Modeh ani, and you make a choice in those 12 seconds. Today is going to be an amazing day because I am in a state of upliftment, positivity. I'm happy. I'm happy not because of what's happening today. I'm happy, and therefore it's going to be an amazing day. You follow what I'm saying?
It doesn't depend on becoming joyous during the day. Start the day.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's such a mindset shift there, Warren, to be able to decide, to realize that joy is a choice. It's not a result. It's a choice.
But what I challenge is depression. I mean, thank God, I've never felt that way, but I know.
We should never be tested, eh?
I know people because they are mentally.
Yeah. Neurodivergent.
Yeah, there's an issue they have. So it's not just.
You know, I'm not a doctor. I don't know.
They don't choose to be unhappy, but it's possible. I mean,
I have to tell you,
I can't understand it.
I have to tell you my favorite story. You probably heard it from me 1,000 times, but I have to say it. Is the true story. One of our millionaires, he came to me and he complained to me. He was very upset. He said, Rabbi, I'm upset with you. I said, why? He said, because you're always telling us to be happy. You're saying you have to be happy, and I don't want to be happy. Where does it say in the Torah? Where does it say in the Torah you have to be happy? I quoted him this verse. I quoted him that verse. He's like, no, this is from the prophets. This is from the writings. I went in the 5 books. I gave him 5 books, but it was a commentary of the Arizal on the 5 books. It says, all these curses are going to come upon you because you didn't serve God, your God, with joy. So the Arizal explains, not that you didn't serve God, your God. That's why the curses are coming. But you did serve God, your God. You just didn't do so with joy. That's why you're getting the curses. He said, no. That's the commentary of the Arizal. I want a straight up verse. And he was really challenging me. So I said, you know what? I concede. You could be miserable if that's what makes you happy.
That's good.
So
but there's truth in what you said. There are people who are miserable, and that is
they love it. They love being miserable.
Yeah,
And there's nothing helps a bad mood like spreading it.
They want you to be miserable along with them.
Exactly. So Marty, to your point, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Like when it comes to things like certain addictions or depressions, I'm not a doctor. I mean, Chassidus can give us the tools, but I have chosen to exercise tremendous compassion and empathy on people who have problems that I don't understand. And I want to listen. I have 2 ears and 1 mouth because I need to be listening double the amount of things that I'm saying, right? I need to be listening to what they have to say. So I don't know. To say to someone who's depressed, snap out of it, I think is cruel. I think it's cruel. I don't think they can. Maybe they need medication. I don't know. I don't know the answer to your question.
I agree.
Okay, so I answered your first question about happiness, right? Your second question you were asking was, are we the KISS generation? And I think that Rob's onto something when he says the Nike attitude is just do it. We need to put it into the right context because our generation, yes, we're the furthest from Moses, admittedly, right? But not just that. We're also the most traumatized generation in Jewish history, more than any other generation ever. Why? Because we're further along the line, right? So, the previous generations might have had 2 crusades and a Cossacks, right, and a Spanish Inquisition. We got a Holocaust too. We got a Hamas, we got Hezbollah, we got Fedayeen, we got PLO, we got United Nations. United Nations is a curse that no previous generation ever had. Yeah, exactly. We got breaking news alerts from CNN and we got Al Jazeera. I mean, we have more anti-Semitism than than any generation in history has ever experienced.
And if that's not enough, tonight we'll learn about artificial intelligence. That makes
Right, there's a new
it
frontier of anti-Semitism. Just in case you missed this one,
We have more to
there's a
come.
new one.
More to come.
There's robots also being anti-Semites now.
The real stuff isn't enough, so they're gonna make it up.
Well, they do make
Right,
it up.
right.
I'm a little confused because the last time we spoke, and when Chuck was voicing his concern, we talked about the individual soul, and each individual soul has a mission.
Hang on, let me just finish my point before I get to that question. I see where you're going. I was going to say that, bearing in mind that we are the most traumatized generation in Jewish history. Trauma is a real thing. Trauma like plays with the metabolism and the firing of your brain. Neuroplasticity is the neurons that fire together, wire together. What that means is that when you're experiencing trauma, then your brain actually changes its structure, right? So it's very difficult to blame a Jew today for not being observant. It's very difficult to blame a Jew, to hold him accountable for not, laying tefillin or something, for not keeping kosher, for having a problem with God, because, they've been through a heck of a lot. They've been through hell and back a couple times, right? And it's not just in their lifetimes, it's collected, accumulated, generational, inherited trauma that's embedded in our genetic makeup, epigenetics, right? So I just think that we have to be kind to ourselves in the sense that this tremendous trauma, like you would go to therapy to be able to undo that trauma, we need to be cognizant of that fact, and we have to say, you know what? It's just like in therapy, the therapist will tell you to take certain actions in order to repair your marriage, even if you don't fully understand them, right? To take certain actions to repair your parenting, fake it till you make it. Same thing we have to do with our relationship with Hashem. We have to just take those actions. And even if we don't fully understand them, we have to recognize the fact that we're traumatized and we're hurt and we're hurting. And even if we don't realize that we're hurting, right? And we have triggers. We have triggers that we don't know about. There's certain triggers that can set you off. I mean, I was looking back at the past 3 months and I was wondering, I was in such a role, I made a New Year's resolution, January 1st, 2023. I had come to the awareness, and I admitted a confession that I was email obese. I was email obese. I had 20,000 somewhat emails in my inbox, and I was like, this can't continue anymore. So I made a decision to become an email efficient, and I got my emails down to like under 20. By October 6th, I was down to about 20, 30 emails. I was on top of my game. And then came October 7th, and I got like 500 emails. I couldn't handle it, and I'm barely managing to knock it down. I still have an email to you that I'm looking forward to responding, by the way. My apologies. I need to respond to that email. And it's not one I have to send to you. It's a bunch of them, So anyways, I came to the realization last night before that I actually myself was triggered by October 7th. I fell into some sort of I was so busy counseling others. I don't have time to counsel myself because, you get all these email analyses, what this one's thinking, what that one's thinking, what's going to be, and that's, and then you get this email, warning graphic content, about what actually happened, what could have happened, what should. And you read one of those emails and it just sets me off into a rabbit hole. And I'm not carrying on with other emails because and that's what happened to me. I wasn't able to, and now I'm on this like brutal ground scorching attitude to my email. I'm like, I got to keep it moving because I'm coming out of that trauma. But I too have triggers that were certainly triggered in that experience. What?
How did Rebbe respond to all the letters that he received? And he didn't have email. I mean,
it's very interesting. The Rebbe,
he had to review.
There's 39 volumes of the published responses of the Rebbe. 39 volumes. They're unbelievable reads, and we have a lot of them in English around here in the library. To read the Rebbe's letters in English, unbelievable. Many cases, the Rebbe had 4 secretaries. They would write the letters. The Rebbe would tell them what to write. They would write the letters, right? And they would typewrite. What was that thing? I don't even know what that is, but I just remember, like, it's like I show my kids like this, and they're like, "Can you lower the window, please?" I'm like, "What's Daddy doing? Like, what's he doing?" So I remember my parents were like, "Son, do a typing. What is that? Like, is that a typewriter move?" I don't know what that is. Well,
This is the phone 4 or 5 hours.
and I remember the phone call. Yeah. So where we going with that? You were saying about the Rebbe. The Rebbe also this is how the Rebbe responded. You wrote a letter to the Rebbe. The Rebbe would take like a pen and should I marry? Should I date this one or that one? Right. So the Rebbe would like circle. Next. You know what I mean? Or the Rebbe would say, like, it would be like little things, and the secretary would then read that or fax that to the recipient. That's how they did it. Yeah. I'm sorry, somebody else. Oh, you were asking something, Harvey. What were you saying about a specific mission, right?
Right.
So what is that's what I'm saying, the didactic. Today I just wanted to give you a general for our generation. The general for our generation.
Okay.
But we're working our way towards that. And this mimer is going to give us much more specific detail on how to identify the clues of what your specific mission might be. Okay. So let's read a little bit inside the text. Does anybody remember where exactly we reached? I couldn't remember. It's middle of 367 somewhere. We'll go back a little bit. Okay, let's go to the bottom of 367. Concerning our years upon this earth, the Baal Shem Tov says that man must go out to his work, quoting the Psalm of David, the work for which God dispatched his soul. Right there is your mindset shift, right? Dispatched, ouch, I'm on a mission. My dysfunction is my mission. I have no resentment. I don't need to be angry. I don't need to feel that God is nasty to me by putting me in this circumstance. This is my mission. Okay, that's an incredible realignment. He must perform the required Torah mitzvahs before it grows dark. You've got limited time. Like a soldier that has a limited amount of bullets, you've got a limited resources in your mission upon this earth. You can't faff around for the next 60 years before you decide to wake up when you have nothing better to do. Right? You got to realize that you got limited time. The best time for the labor to be performed with heartfelt desire and good character traits is during the morning and afternoon, during the early and middle years. During this time, a person is best able to work on and refine himself, both with regard to becoming truly God-fearing as well as developing fine character traits. When a person does so, then the life he lives during his evening years will also be very fine. What happens if you reach your evening years and you haven't had a chance to do morning and afternoon work? Then probably by divine providence, you weren't supposed to do it yet, because maybe your mission is to reach awakening in a latter part of your life. You know, some people have said to me, Rabbi, I wish I knew this 20, 30 years ago, what we're learning. And I say to them, well, look at the bright side. Maybe it's a good thing that you know it now and not on your deathbed, right? So at least you know it now. So don't feel bad for what you don't have. Feel good for what you do have, right? And if you've experienced this awakening now,
the point of joy being option, a
Choice.
you make, because you can look on the bright side of it. You can look
Of
at
course.
the same set of facts positively. That hey, I figured it out now. I can still walk, talk, and my mind works. Or you can be depressed about it because
I missed
already
out.
in
Look
my
what I
70s
missed.
or
Right.
something.
you know, it's also interesting. It's a very interesting point to say that, you know, I want to just expand on that a little bit and say that, you know, from a scientific perspective, without a scientific perspective, you look at your life as one continuum, as one linear continuum, and you think, well, the sum total of my life is kind of pathetic. I have very little to show for myself, and you get a little depressed. But from a scientific, well, I'm going to call it a Cabalistic perspective, really. When you apply the doctrine of perpetual creation, and you realize that God is creating the world and you every single moment again, over and over and over again, God is creating the world all over again, then you realize that instead of your life being a linear process, it's really a matrix of individual isolated points. And therefore, every moment is unique of the previous and the following moment.
We'll be saying Modani several times.
Point being that every moment has its own unique energy that you have the power to reinvent. So it doesn't fade away into the majority of yours that you were unconscious. No, this moment in and of itself can be a conscious, sane, beautiful, healthy moment in and of itself. So don't think, oh, I'm in the sunset years of my life. I'm in the back nine. You know, you don't have to think of it that way. You can say, no, now is all that matters. Like we say in Israel, Masha haya haya, what was, right? There's actually a very beautiful story from the Radvaz. Reb Dovid ben Zimra is a commentary on the Maimonides, lived about 700-800 years ago. There was a Jew who was in debtor's prison. Didn't take much to get thrown into debtor's prison. I guess he didn't pay his debt. And then he was in debtor's prison. So there was really no way out, because how's he supposed to pay off his debt? So his compassionate jailer debtor. Is that a debtor? The guy who you owed the debt to?
Creditor.
Creditor. The creditor told him that out of the goodness of my heart, I'm going to let you out one day a year. One day a year, I'm going to let you out. So he wrote a letter to Rabbi Dovid ben Zimra. It's a true story about asking which day should he leave the dungeon. Should he go out on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur? Maybe you can't eat anything over there anyways. So maybe Yom Kippur is not a good day to go out, right? Every day is Yom Kippur in there. Or should he go out on his birthday? Should he go out on Pesach? Which day should he go out? What do you think?
Any day.
What do you mean any day? Just any random day?
Because it's a new day.
Okay. What do you say?
Right now.
That's what he said to him. He said, there's no day that's more powerful, more precious than this day, than today. Because who knows, you're going to be alive in 3 months from now. Like now, get out now. It's first earliest opportunity. That's when you should go.
Tomorrow may never come. For all
Right.
we know.
Because,
So,
yeah.
So is it correct to say then that under this philosophy, it's not about the sum total of your merits, that even one merit in that particular moment could have been so significant in terms of the impact that it had on you or others that could warrant the joy? That's not a box score. You don't add it all up. And
Hang on. You're making the mistake of joy being a result again.
Yeah.
You just
Right.
made it. You made a Freudian slip there. Not the joy. Maybe could warrant the sense of satisfaction, perhaps. Okay. So, this is a very, very interesting point that's really going to lead us to where we're trying to get to right now. You notice that it kind of snuck in here in the previous paragraph that, okay, your mission in this life is obviously Torah mitzvahs. And we didn't even talk about like why, like why Torah mitzvahs. And someone like, someone that might be a newcomer to this group or this forum might say like, sounds a little too religious for my liking. That's not on my radar yet, Rabbi, with all due
Not my
respect.
thing,
Like, think you're being a little pushy, like why? Like, why should it be Torah mitzvahs? So to your point, in a beautiful mimer that the Rebbe delivered, actually today's the Yetzei of the Rebbe's mother. Sorry, the birthday that I was. We said the birthday of the Rebbe's mother, right? So it was actually this mimer was delivered on the Yetzei of the Rebbe's mother. It's called Bila Hamaves LaNetzach, and death will be caused to vanish forever. And Hashem, this is a quote from the prophets, and Hashem will wipe away tears from off all faces. Right, that's what it says. Death will be banished forever. So in this discourse, upon what? I don't remember this right now, but in this mimer, the Rebbe explains the following point. He explains about the origin of death. What brought death into this world in the first place? You remember? What was it? Why? What did Eve do that brought death into this world? Wasn't an apple.
The fruit.
Apple was King James version.
The fruit. The pomegranate.
Wasn't necessarily a fruit. It was either a grape or a wheat or a etrog or a fig. 4 opinions in the Talmud. But clearly the apples had Christian influence. Yeah. But what was wrong with that? Why should that justify death being introduced into the world? Why? Why should death come into the world? Because she ate something. I mean, doesn't that sound a little bit excessive? Like you and your children for the rest of time are gonna die if you eat that thing. See, you did it. Now you're gonna. That sounds like somebody needs a little anger management therapy. A little tantrum, right? Unbecoming from God Almighty.
It's a soul reset. If you don't do what you're told, then maybe your soul needs to leave this existence, go back to God.
So here's how the Rebbe explains it. Very, very simple. By introducing, remember, this is the tree of good, of the knowledge of good and evil. It was the tree of knowledge. What does knowledge mean? Das means taking wisdom from your head, the idea that you understand in your head, and making it something that you feel in your heart. Going from objective to subjective. That's bina to das, right? Making it yours. That's what das means. Hence the sexual, how do you say something nice when you say something nicely? Euphemism. The sexual euphemism in Torah is an Adam knew Eve because it was personal, right? So the tree of knowledge, das, of good and evil, means that the tree that internalizes good and evil. So now that you ate from the fruit that you are now have part and parcel within you, not only good but also evil, by default, you cannot live forever, because if you do, then evil lives forever.
Evil perpetuates.
Evil lives forever, and you can't do that. When will death be banished eternally? When we uproot the evil, when we transform or root canal the evil out of us. How do we do the root canal to take the evil out of us? We've spoken about this many times. There's two kinds of teshuvah. Teshuvah means to walk away from the sin. But on a deeper level, teshuvah means to face your sin and transform it into your teacher. Taking your negative and turning it into your positive. Saying that my bad marriage, my first marriage is what made me into a more sensitive spouse now. My failing previously is what's going to make me into a better Jew. My abuse as a child is going to make me into a better parent. So then you're turning the negative into a positive. And that's not just walking away from sin. This is the deeper level of teshuvah. This is transforming the sin, where the Talmud says that somebody who does a teshuvah on this level, his sins are transformed into mitzvahs. Can you imagine? And I've said this before to much chagrin of my students, that the adultery becomes a mitzvah. If the adultery transforms you, I'm not saying you should do it. But if you did, then if you can use that to become a much, much, much more sensitive spouse, then the negative becomes a positive. The infidelity becomes a merit, right? So the Rebbe concludes and he says that when we reach that consciousness, to be able to have the courage and the strength to face our darkness and to disarm it, to not only walk away from it, but to transform it with teshuvah. And by the way, I believe that all this Hamas, Hezbollah war stuff is forcing the Jews to dig deeply within themselves. When we realize that all those people and entities that we thought were our friends are really not. Today, anybody who's talking about a two-state solution is either supremely naive or intensely anti-Semitic. I'm sorry if that's a little. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah,
James, my lawyer. Sorry.
We agree.
I don't just quote in the ICC, you know.
We think it's accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I think there already is a two-state solution. Gaza is a two-state solution. We see how that worked out. Didn't work out too great. You know, the best subway system on earth. You know, they're very good at making subway systems, but that's it, right? I'm saying that we realize that we're actually very isolated. We're very, very alone. And we have to dig deep within ourselves. I can't tell you how many tears I've experienced in the past few months of people that are moved to places that they never knew that they could. As they're crying to me and telling me, Rabbi, I need to be more Jewish, right? We're experiencing a motivation towards teshuvah, the likes of which we've never seen in our lifetimes, right? And what the Rebbe concludes over there is like this, and I'm sorry, this is why I'm getting this lengthy answer to you, is that when we are able to reach the point that we can uproot the evil from within us, that's when there's no longer a need for death. And that's why we all have eternal life and the resurrection of the dead, which sounds like such a crazy concept. Oh, the dead are going to come back alive, right? It sounds like such a crazy concept, but when you realize that death itself is an aberration, death is already a detour from the way the world was meant to be, you realize that once you fix the problem, then the consequence goes away, right? That's why the dead will come back to life. But the Rebbe throws in an amazing footnote in that discourse. And he says like this. He says, you know, when you do a mitzvah or study Torah, since the mitzvah is the explicit, unfiltered will of God, Tanya chapter 23, and since Torah is The actual is God himself, because God and his Torah are one. Tanya chapter 5, quoting the Zohar, which says, Torah and God are one. Therefore, when you grasp Torah like we are right now, you're grasping God himself. When you're doing a mitzvah, you're grasping Or Ein Sof, God's infinite light. And what happens when every single thing in your life is a finite experience? Pizza, work, taking your kids to the park, going to the play, going on a cruise, playing golf for the 17th time this month, right? When you do all those things, they're all finite experiences. But then you have one experience, which is 2 minutes. You're late to fill in. And that was what? That was an infinite experience. It's like a blinding light that overwhelms every other experience, not only of your day, but of your year, and in fact, of your life. So from this perspective, the Rebbe says that by doing the mitzvah and studying the Torah, you're actually dropping a line, hook, line, and sinker to God's essence himself. And therefore, by doing that, you're actually transforming your entire being. It's like flicking on the lights in a dark basement. What's going to happen? All the rats are going to go scurrying away, right? So all the negativity, all the death within yourself. I mean, it takes a Rebbe to say this, okay? It takes a Rebbe to say that one mitzvah is transformative, right? But it's incredible that the Rebbe actually said that. But point being, to your point, that when you do that one mitzvah, even if it's in the later years of your life, that could be a tremendous reason for a sense of fulfillment, a sense of purpose, and a sense of satisfaction. Because when you put things into the proper context of infinity or not infinity or finitude, you realize that nothing is as meaningful as the morning that you spent in shul, as the minutes that you spent reading Torah study, giving tzedakah, whatever mitzvah that you were doing. That is the most significant and meaningful act that you possibly could do, which is why, getting back to our discourse, what is your mission on this earth? Now we're starting to understand, okay, Torah mitzvahs is not so much a religious concept alone. It's actually it's shattering the glass ceiling. It's the only thing that a mortal human being can do that is immortal. Well, no, it's not the only thing. Having children is immortal, right? Procreation is creating, which itself is also a mitzvah, but which explains why in Judaism it's a mitzvah, right? Sexuality. But the act of doing a mitzvah, studying Torah, is the most infinite thing that you possibly could do. And now we're honing in more into what our mission is upon this earth. We're starting to understand, okay, when you put things into the right context, I can understand why it's so important for you to do Torah mitzvahs, as opposed to just, helping an old lady cross the street, or marching with BLM in Seattle, right? That there's more to life than just being, a social justice warrior. You follow what I'm saying, right? Does that answer your question? I think. Oh, good. Okay, guys, I'm going to end it over here. There's comments coming in. Didactic, intended to teach. The meaning of didactic is intended to teach, particularly in having moral instruction as an ulterior motive, in the manner of a teacher, particularly so as to treat someone in a patronizing way. That sounds to me like is that a verb or a noun? I don't know. Daniel, great book, Power of Now. Every moment is new, just like Hashem creates every moment fresh. Good. Okay, that's Eckhart Tolle. I'm a fan. I can't see you pushed your teachings. Help me with my daily journey. Good. This is Witty Eggplant. Fantastic. All right. Thank you, Witty. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to study Torah with you.
You didn't address Harvey's point.